So good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in another in the algorithm webinar series. In today's presentation, we're going to be taking a look at an area of great opportunity for a lot of our customers. A majority of our customers are using limited functionality in terms of finance and accounting in Excel or Macola, or a combination of the two through something like an Excel add-in. And as many of you know, this can bring many challenges, requiring a lot of manual work, version control issues, complicated structures with GB commuts, painfully slow reporting generation, and really simply a lack of overall functionality and innovation to do the job that most folks in finance and accounting would prefer. So plain and simple, this really equates to a lot of time sucked into the day-to-day maintenance in finance and accounting activities. That all said, the Office of Finance and Accounting is really in a unique position to start adding new value to their companies because of their end-to-end view of the entire company. But again, oftentimes it is those normal day-to-day processes that limit the availability to do those strategic advisory types of activities. And so the tools that we're going to be taking a look at today free up your time to be that strategic partner really to everyone and every division within your company. And those tools, as you've heard of, are often interchangeably referred to as business intelligence or corporate performance management tools. And these really streamline and automate a ton of the financial reporting, budgeting, forecasting, planning processes, and a lot more. Today's presenters are Algorithm's Dennis Easter and Michelle Nelson. They are two of our top FP&A, finance and accounting professionals and experts here within Algorithm. And they're going to be taking a quick 15-minute look at three different products that we specialize in within the BI and CPM world. Those are FYIsoft, BI360, and Prophix. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the first portion of the presentation, and that is Dennis Easter taking a look at FYIsoft. Dennis, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Alex. Thanks, everybody, for attending. And I want to make sure that I'm giving you all the information you need in order to spur further discussions about the products. And so as Alex mentioned, the CPM products, business intelligence, FP&A, come by many names, that we offer are really designed to help the Office of Finance and Accounting free themselves up to be the strategic partners to everybody else that they really need to be. And so I'm going to show you first FYIsoft, as Alex mentioned. FYIsoft is a product that, for full disclosure, really doesn't fit into the pure play CPM products because it is financial reporting only, and part of the CPM model with FP&A is all designed around planning and analytics, and FYIsoft doesn't include a planning or budgeting module. But we have a lot of companies that spend a lot of time working to create monthly reports. And so that's why we brought in FYIsoft, especially for our Macola ES customers. Although it does work, it is database agnostic, so it will work with any ERP system. So as part of FYIsoft, they have financial reporting as part of their core capabilities. And you can either do a direct integration to your general ledger out of your ERP through a connector, or we can actually pull the data into a data mart so that it's easier for slicing and dicing. And because if you choose to use the data mart, that's where you can pull in data from multiple sources. So if you have production data and sales data and GL data or multiple ERP systems, then you can manage that and slice and dice as you combine data. It's got powerful auditing capabilities, so you can see changes to reports, changes to accounts. You can see drill down to transactional detail. And the one thing about FYIsoft that you're going to see a little bit later that's different from BI360 that you'll see later, as well as Prophix, is the way that the reports are designed. And so with the report definitions, we'll work with, and you'll see how to build row sets and column sets and add your different organizational structure to your reporting. And so their design is not done in a spreadsheet format. It's actually done in a separate report editor. They've got management reporting to where you can tailor your reports as far as the information that's included in them, as well as who gets to see the information so that you can provide manager-specific reporting. And in that, you can build into the reports drill down capabilities so that they're not just looking at a monthly number, but they can actually see what makes up that number. For those of you that have multiple companies, FYIsoft does handle consolidations with full traceability, eliminations, and such, as well as currency translation if you're using operating in a international capacity as well. Where FYIsoft really shines is it ties all this together, all of your reports together with closing processes to automate the close and to then be able to provide drill down capability at the report level as well. And so there was a company that they were a holding company for Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurants. And they had over 200 restaurants that they needed to consolidate into regional financials as well as a corporate financial. And they ended up saving over 2 weeks off of their close by using FYIsoft. And part of the thing that helped them change their close schedule and the report distribution is the automatic scheduling of reports and the distribution, so that there's no copy and paste of the different report values. There's no printing to a PDF and then, sending out an email to everybody and attaching their individual report to them, because that is an extremely time-consuming task for someone in the accounting and finance department. And these are the type of things that we don't see as value add, and we think can be automated as well. The report design in FYIsoft allows you to build all of your standard financial statements. So if you're using budgeting, then we can, while we don't help prepare the budget with FYIsoft, if the budget is in your ERP system, then it can report on it so that you can create comparative and variance reports as well as rolling forecasts. And again, the report design that we'll show in a little bit is what we're going to see as a difference between FYIsoft and some of the others. So let me move this out of the way and take a look at, here's a standard report that was built in FYIsoft. FYIsoft, pulled it up in the browser here. It's a cloud-based product, and it is SOC 2 compliant. It's got so it's got all of the security measures that you're looking for in these type of reporting products. And so as we start to look at the product, again, everybody has their own user profile. I happen to be an admin because, well, I want to be an admin. And as I'm going through the menu, it's really easy over here, as we see up in the top left, that first you develop the reports, and then you request the reports, and then you view the reports. So it's very intuitive. And the way that you build a report is a combination of rows and columns, and which is a fairly intelligent way to build your reports, because with FYIsoft, you can build a single set of rows, and we'll take a look at in just a minute, and then you can apply different columns to that row set as well and have different versions of the same report. So as we look here, we'll go ahead and we'll open up our rows, and we'll take a look at our balance sheet. And so this is how you build a row set in FYIsoft. Is you give it a row code, and you give it either the description, or you add the account. And so as you add the account, this is where you can tell it that you want to add a certain account number. As you're developing your rows, you can see where these are all locked. That means that they're checked out so that someone else can't update your rows for you. Someone can't mess with your setup, and which is good because that's what happens a lot of time with Excel spreadsheets, is that you have the Excel spreadsheet out on the server, and somebody accidentally opens it up and changes something and accidentally saves it, and pretty soon your report's no good anymore. Well, with FYIsoft, you have complete content control, because you actually manage who's going to be building reports, and who can publish reports, and who can view the reports. So FYIsoft, again, uses a row set. So here are all of the rows that we have in a balance sheet. And then when we look down and we see the columns, so we'll go ahead and we'll look at our columns, we can look at our 12-month year-to-date. So this one, we should have 13 columns of data in it. So here are all of the monthly columns with the year-to-date. Now, one thing that I could do is that I could also take this and I could apply the rows that I built for my balance sheet, and I could apply this month by company. So then I could see my individual balance sheet accounts for each of the companies that I'm working with, just by combining the row and column sets. So I don't have to rebuild my rows, I just have to add new columns. And then as I build the reports, I simply choose which rows I want and which columns I want. And again, I have the report that I can view. So the way that you then can improve your month reporting is that you can go ahead and you can create a package of reports. So your balance sheet, cash flow, monthly income statement, and then you can decide who you're going to send it to. So you want to send it to all of the regions distribution list. Okay? And then once you submit it, they're notified that they have a report to view, or if you distribute it via email, they will have an opportunity to click on the link or the file that you send them as an attachment. Now, one thing that you can also do, and I know I'm talking really fast in this because I've got a lot to show you, is that in this report, one thing that you can do, and this is how you can send this, choose these formats when you send the file as well. Okay, so you can send it as a PDF, you can send it as an Excel file that just has the static values. But here's something that's really, really helpful, and that's you can send it as an Excel file that keeps the formulas that you build into your row and column sets. And that way people can trace and audit the transactions and the calculations in the statement as well. So again, FYIsoft isn't the traditional corporate performance management play. It's a reporting tool. But because we do have companies out there that don't do budgets, and they spend a lot of time creating financial reports every month, we want to make sure we address their needs as well. We've worked with FYIsoft, Algorithm has, and developed an integration for Macola ES, a direct integration. And so we think it's a tool that can be helpful to our customers, and we think that it's a tool that can add value and help the Office of Finance become more strategic across the organization. I yield the last 7 seconds of my time. Alex?
All right. Thank you, Dennis. Very generous for giving us back those 7 seconds. Appreciate you giving that that quick intro into FYIsoft. I know it's hard to cover that in such a short amount of time. All right. With that, we are going to transition to Michelle Nelson, and she is going to be giving us a look at BI360. Michelle, take it away.
All right, thanks, Alex, and thank you, Dennis. I'm just going to go over, typical business issues that most people who come to BI360 usually have. You may have some more, but these are kind of the typical ones that really kind of solve the problems. So just, basic budgeting. Budgeting can get pretty complex. Some people are still using Excel, so they want a little more sophisticated budgeting tool, maybe some workflow involved, being able to get below the GL account level, maybe some operational budgets. This kind of allows that to facilitate that. Also, looking for a financial reporter that is not so difficult and the learning curve is not very long. We know that BI360 is a kind of an Excel-based add-in, so you're really using that Excel skills to build your financial reports. And then, of course, if you have multiple ERP systems, we do have integrations, again, with multiple ERP systems and SQL, and so you can get your data from just any data source. And then, of course, any kind of visualization, we are connected to Power BI, so we can actually get all the data from BI360 into Power BI to do that visualization. So just a quick overview of what BI360 entails. So we have kind of like 4 components. We've got the budgeting, which again is Excel-based form design. Everything is pushed up to the cloud, but it is designed in Excel. And then you push it up to the cloud for everybody to have access. You've got the ability to do assignments and workflow with your budgets. You've got the reporting tool, again, Excel-based, financial and operation reporting, getting below the GL and being able to drill down right in the web as well. And we have out-of-box integrations. The dashboards, as I mentioned, we're really focusing on Power BI now. We used to have our own dashboard, but, you know, Power BI is a pretty powerful tool, so we've just integrated that tool into BI360. And then the data warehouse. This is really where the power really begins, is really having that multiple data sources, whether it's multiple ERPs or a CSV file, or doesn't even matter. So you can push everything into a warehouse, and then you've got, you know, one source for all your data, and you're building your reporting and your budgeting and your visualizations from there. So it's kind of a, you know, we like to say a whole well-rounded solution. Just to give you an idea of what it kind of looks like as far as architecture is concerned, you can see the data warehouse sits in the middle. You've got all kinds of different sources that you can push right into the warehouse, and then you're using all the different reporting and budgeting and dashboard tools. So let's take a peek at what that looks like. When I log in, I see all the different components on the left-hand side. I'm logged in as an administrator, so I have a lot of components. Typically, a standard user might see live reporting. If they're involved in budgeting, they'll see the budgeting one, and that's pretty much it. So everything else the administrator kind of controls. So if I go over here to live reporting, just to show you, you know, what a report looks like, you know, you've got all kinds of templates here. Just keep in mind, if you like BI360, all these templates are available to you, and you can modify them to fit your data. So once I select the report, you'll see that I have the parameters up here at the top, and this is all built by the designer, so they get to decide, you know, what parameters do I want to run this report by? So I can choose different entities. I could choose multiple entities. Just depends on how you set it up. And then you've got, you know, the period in which you want to run it, what kind of scenario. So if you're looking at your actuals versus your budgets, and you'll see there's other scenarios there as well, which are created with the data warehouse. You run the report, and you can expand this out so you can see it a little better. And so you'll see it's basically, you'll notice it's just an Excel spreadsheet in the cloud here. We have the ability to drill down as well. So you just right-click, and you can choose detail or general ledger. And it just pushes it into a new tab, and it just shows you the underlying transactions there. And this is very customizable as well. If you don't want to show all these columns, you can customize your drill down, but that's out of the box, showing you all the fields. You also have all kinds of options up here. You've got the ability to edit it. What that will do is bring it right into Excel and allow me to edit it. Now, if I am a designer and I have controls to build these reports, then it's just going to pull up my report right in Excel. And great. Here's a new version. And it's going to allow me to run that report right within Excel, drill down, have the same capacity as I would when I'm building it. Or if I'm just looking to pull it down, I can just export it to Excel. I've got the ability to download as a PDF as well. So that would just bring it into Excel. And again, same concept. Maybe as FYIsoft, it still maintains all my formulas. So I can go ahead and I can even play around with the numbers and just type in there, and everything updates. So it does maintain those formulas. You've got the ability to comment. You can build what that does is it allows you to comment on the spreadsheet. It's kind of cool. It's a little feature ad I like to show, but it's just showing you that I can add comments to the sheet if I want to write anything and save that out for the next user. I can share it. So I got all my users in here. I can share it with them if they don't have access, and then I can also send it to archive if it's, if I'm done. It also lets me know the history of the file, when it was last opened, what parameters were run, and so on. So it's a little quick a view of and it always warns you if you're going to get out of a report and you wanted to make some changes to it. The other thing is the budgeting side of things. A lot of things you can do on the budgeting side of things. It's really writing data back to the data warehouse. So all that data is saved, and then you can report off of that. So that's when you build in those scenarios, whether you're doing a forecast or a budget. And just keep in mind that the parameters are tied to the users as well. So for instance, if I'm only allowed to see my department, which is maybe Department 100, then I'm not going to be able to choose any other of the departments. So you can actually control your users based on, those user roles. So they're only going to be able to see very particular areas of the data. It's kind of a great feature because you don't have to worry about them pushing data back to the wrong department or them overthinking how to input their information. This is a sample budget form. Everything in yellow allows me to type right on there. If you see a little red square, that means there's comments in there, which is down here in my spreading and line item details. So I can actually build in some spreading, and you've got the different types of spreading. So you can do an amount, you got distribution rules, you can build in your own rules as well. You've got the ability to adjust it based on a percentage or maybe a main line in different budget forms. You've got the ability to enter a value or just some units as well. So you've got units or percentage. So if you just put in a value here, keep it simple, it's just going to spread it for that entire line. Now, if I wanted to do line item details, I would come down here. Instead of spreading it, I would add my values here. If I pull up a different line here, pull up this line, and we just type in the values, I can put my description here, and I can just continue to add my line item details, and it's just going to add that totals up there. You got the ability to comment on the item detail as well. So a lot of flexibility when you're building your budget. Once they've, kind of done all their numbers, they can then just store that. That's the little save button, basically, and store that right back to the data warehouse. Now, the data warehouse, like I mentioned, is key. If I'm going to continue without save here, just to give you an idea what it looks like. You've got the ability to integrate with different solutions, as I mentioned. Oops, I don't want to select that. So this is the marketplace where we have all the pre-built integrations. So, if you have multiple ERPs, you've got a SQL database, we can connect to Macola as well using the SQL connector. Salesforce, you got your CRM. So all that connectors is what it's going to do is allow you to put that information in the data warehouse. Then you've got the ability to configure the data warehouse any way you want. So you want to add new modules, you want to add new dimensions. You've really got a lot of flexibility when you're building this or when you set it up. So we can look at, just let me pull up one account here. So typically in your ERP system, you're going to have your code, your description, maybe some notes, but here's where you can build in additional fields. So, whether you want to build in some roll-ups, we've got the ability to do trees, so we can build reports off of trees and then run those for every single tree value. So this is just showing you some of the flexibility that the warehouse can provide. We also have a publisher as well that allows you to push out reports very similar, obviously, to FYIsoft. You build your report. You've got the ability, once you select a template, this is what I like, it's going to know exactly what parameters are in there. So if you just want to send reports to a particular department and you only want to run it by those particular parameters and not anything else, then you would just select those parameters in which to run it by. So that can send them out in a static, or if they're a user of the system, then they can just come in and grab that report and run it any way they want in the system. We've got the workflow ability as well. So this is where you set up your budget. You can have approval processes set up. So there's a lot of flexibility. And then you can also assign reports and budgets as well. I know that was like a quick and fast overview, but please feel free to ask questions after we do the next segment. Back to you, Dennis.
All right, thank you, Michelle. So let me go ahead and share things out. All right. And so to wrap things up, the last product we're going to be talking about is Prophix. And the way that we've organized the webinar is that we went from probably the least expensive, more basic type product, and we're moving up the scale. So FYIsoft is reporting only, and its price point is lower. And then we've got BI360, which is a very capable full CPM product, receives great ratings. It's an absolute monster of a product. Otherwise, we wouldn't carry it. We think it's going to fit well into the small, medium-sized business marketplace when it comes to CPM. And yeah, Michelle did a great job showing it to you, but there's so much to show. And we only have, she only had 15 minutes and 7 seconds to do it. So she was kind of rushed, but as always, this is an introduction, so you can ask us more questions. Prophix now, as we look at it, is a powerhouse in the CPM market. Their price point is higher. Their target market of companies is a little bit higher than BI360, although we've got it in companies that are below their target, and it is performing well for them. Much like you heard Michelle talk about in BI360, Prophix follows the same model in that you can pick your multiple data sources, load them into a data warehouse, use your input templates, your report templates and dashboards, and then with Prophix, one of the things that you can do besides just running the reports and distributing them in either PDF, Excel, or having them viewed from the cloud portal is you can actually publish them through all of these different methods. You can post them on your SharePoint site that integrates with Word, PowerPoint. Again, there you see PDF and Excel, as well as integrating with your viewing capabilities. And so now we'll go ahead and take a look here. And could someone confirm that you can see a Prophix dashboard now?
Sure can.
All right, excellent. So Prophix is one of the things that sets them apart from the other products that we have in the CPM market is the ability to do interactive slicing and dicing. With BI360, you can do strong drill down in the reports. But one of the things that's native out of Prophix and their dashboards is interactivity, and making them giving you actionable data. And so that's where, here's a nice little dashboard that you put together, and here you can see that there's workflow within that we'll take a look at in a little bit. But really, again, the thing that makes Prophix really stand out is how you can interact with the product. And so here we look at, here's a revenue variance, actual versus budget with the variance, and a nice little bar chart there. And with this, we can actually drill down. So here now we went from quarterly to now we see the months of the first quarter. And if we want to look at some more detail, we can just hit this little launch button right here, and you'll see that loaded up a tab called Ad Hoc Analysis. And so in Ad Hoc Analysis, this is where it's on-demand analysis of your data. And so you see that it brought into a nice little table of here's your months, your budget versus actual, and a calculated variance. But one of the things that I can do with this is, okay, well, if I wanted to see what was going on with my products, and so I can just drag here instead of my variances. Now I can see, and I can drill down to all my different products. Okay, so I'm drilling down all the way here, so you can see I started out with a quarterly budget variance chart, and I drilled down all the way to here's my budget numbers, and then I can also choose my actual numbers. So I can drill down and I can slice and dice this data any way I want. So here, even if I want to change, I'll go ahead and put my territories across the top. And I want to go ahead, so I'm looking at my actual for January here. I can change that to February. So I'm slicing and dicing my data, and I'm looking at and finding out trends and those type of things that I want. And if I wanted to, I could then take this, once I get, the detail of what's going on in Canada, right here, I can see, and I can export this to Excel. So I can then give this report back to sales managers and tell them, let's take a look at why these numbers happened the way they did, because they're causing a negative variance. So that's what really sets Prophix apart from the other products we offer, and that is the ability to start at a dashboard and into what is really a live pivot table that you're slicing and dicing and changing the dimensions on at will. So the rest of Prophix is the interface is a little bit different than what you would see with BI360 or FYIsoft. So we'll go ahead and click on a workflow that was set up. And in this workflow, there was a template assigned to it. And in this template, this is my budget entry. So this is where I do my data entry for my operating expense budget. And just like we saw in BI360, we can go ahead and we can add a comment to this. very unique for a sales demo to call it comment. And you'll notice now we've got the little indicator that there's a comment. You can hover over it and see the comment histories. BI360, you can do that as well in your budgets. And those comments in both products transfer over wherever you see that cell of the budget version for January office expense. Anytime that you see that, you'll see that comment as well. If you wanted to go ahead and put in a line item schedule, you can certainly do that. You can see here that there's just an unexplained balance. Somebody just plugged some numbers in there. But this is one of those things where you can set by various accounts. So some of your budget accounts, I would imagine you're going to calculate and based on balances in others. And some you're going to require substantiation from your preparers. And this is where you would use the line item schedule. Again, looks a little different than it did in BI360, but it's the same capabilities. And again, I enter this and then I go ahead and I save my report back to the budget file. Now, again, I've only logged into Prophix one time, and so within Prophix, it's opening up the different tabs. If I'm done with my ad hoc analysis, I can just close it down. So a lot of the functionality that you're going to find in BI360 and Prophix is going to be the same. A couple other things, a couple differences is that in the template studio where you design the templates in Prophix, okay, BI360 is prepared in Excel. And in BI360, it's an Excel add-in. In Prophix, go ahead and open up a report here. It's an Excel-ish report writer. So again, you can use the Excel-ish, again, designer, and you have some Excel functionality in it, and you do have some formatting capabilities. So here we've got bold and blue lines and such. But you don't have an Excel report writer to develop your templates. Some people like that because it gives them more control, keeps someone from getting their hands on the Excel add-in and working around the security. They would obviously have to be trying to do this, but in some organizations, apparently they have people that's what they do. So they like this Excel-like editor, and so the way that you actually develop the data set and what shows up on the report is you do an ad hoc analysis and you choose what rows you want in your report in this selector, and you choose what columns you want in this selector, and that creates your data set. That builds this, and then you add your spaces and formatting. So again, this is one of those differences. It's one of those things that people look at Prophix, they look at BI360, and some go one way, some go the other. But the last part of Prophix that really sets it apart, and this is something that shows their commitment to progress and advancing in technology. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that I can't show you, but I sure wish I could. And what that is they have built into their system anomaly detection. So you can turn on anomaly detection so that as it's reviewing your data, and it will give you a list of transactions that it has determined are out of the norm, and gives you an opportunity to review them. So there are 6 different anomaly detection algorithms that they use in that. And I saw it being demonstrated at their conference in Nashville in April. It's really quite something. So again, that's something that if you're interested in, or you feel like is a requirement, puts Prophix way towards the top of the list. And so with that, again, an overview of Prophix, and I think that now it's time for some Q&A, and so I'm going to stop my sharing. I think Alex probably has something he wants to share with the group, and I'll turn it back to you for Q&A.
All righty. Yeah, we'll go ahead and jump right into the Q&A section. While I'm going through the questions that we've received so far, please, again, don't hesitate to submit new questions. If you just scroll over your Zoom window there, you'll see a little Q&A icon. If you click that, you can submit your question there. I'll make sure those get answered. All right, first question here for you both. Give us a quick synopsis for each of the 3 tools regarding the budget range, what a typical implementation timeline might take, and then what level of training is required for the end users. So we'll start off with FYIsoft, Dennis.
FYIsoft, I really hate talking prices. That's more on the sales side. I think that a typical implementation, the software license is somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 on an annual basis, and they also offer an on-premise license, which is a multiple of that. Implementation is going to be probably 4 to 6 weeks, but again, that varies on resource availability at the client site, because and how much they want to take on. You know, it's really fairly easy to understand how to use it, and so probably you would probably need maybe 5 days of consulting from algorithm in order to get FYIsoft up and running.
All right. Michelle, how about BI360?
You know, out of the box, I mean, we have the Excel add-in, which, you know, and then we have the connectors out of the box. It just depends on the connectors and what you're trying to accomplish. But reporting, you know, implementation is, you know, could be an hour just to set up everything. As far as budgeting is concerned, a little more involved as far as, you know, what sources you want to put in the data warehouse, those kind of things. And then you're kind of off and running too. It's just a matter of, you know, the learning, learning the tool and how that works. You know, they have their own university, they have online courses. So there's a lot that you can learn from that. So I think the invitation is sure. It just depends on what's involved and what components you're going to use. But anywhere from, I say, if you want to get started out of the gate, you got the reporting tool, which wouldn't take long, and then budgeting, maybe up to a week.
Okay. Then Dennis, how about Prophix?
Yeah, Prophix, the implementations tend to be more complex. I did a Prophix implementation with a company. It was a single company. They only wanted it to use it for reporting and simplified budgeting. And I think that the implementation, I think that they were up and running in 30 days, and we had a day of needs analysis, 2 days of build, and 2 days of testing and additional training with them. I've also worked on a build where they're consolidating 20 plus companies with budgeting for each and reporting. That we spent 3 to 5 days in the discovery phase, and then I think that probably a total of 15 days consulting with time in between for them to do homework. And Prophix is more expensive. I mean, it's going to be probably close to between $25,000 and $30,000 a year if you're going to get a SaaS subscription. If you do want an on-premise perpetual license, then you're probably getting closer to over $50,000 for the licensing.
Got it. All right. Appreciate you breaking those down. Here's a question. If we only currently have the needs for something like FYIsoft and financial reporting, logistically, what would it take to move to a new system like BI360 or Prophix?
Well, I'll go ahead and take that one. I think that what you need to look at when you're evaluating is, if you only have need for reporting now, are there plans to introduce budgeting? And if in the near future you have plans to introduce budgeting, then I would recommend getting in BI360 without buying the budgeting modules, because if you're only looking for reporting, then at this point Prophix probably doesn't make sense unless you've got a lot of consolidations to do, and you want to do a lot of slicing and dicing of your data. But you can buy BI360, build all your reports in Excel, keep the training down to a minimum, and minimize your implementation time. Because I think that, as Michelle mentioned, reporting only in BI360 is going to implement fairly quickly, probably as fast as FYIsoft, if not faster, because you do have Excel as your template building tool.
That makes sense. Okay. Another question here. From a finance professional standpoint, it's easy to see the benefits, but what is your pitch for this to ownership or higher management who is disconnected from the day-to-day and may be content with the status quo?
Is that directed to anyone in particular, or do you want to assign it to someone?
It could be a combo answer, whoever wants to jump in there.
Michelle, do you want to comment on it, or I can go ahead? It's up to you. I'll give you the first shot at it.
I think it just depends on what your problems that you are trying to solve. I mean, that's the key. You want to look at what your pain points are. the time frame it's taking you, and then of course the bottom line is, is it beneficial? Are you getting enough analysis out of your systems? And just, really it comes down to your pain points. What can you pinpoint as what your pain points are, and then we can obviously wrap that around how we can solve those pain points with our solutions. And I think that's, the key to getting management involved and showing them maybe some case studies of some similar customers or maybe industry that had gone through the same thing and improved their processes and bottom line as well. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, that's a great answer, and that's where you have to start. Is it makes sense to you, and so then you've got to communicate back to ownership of, here are things that your current processes are keeping you from doing, and if they're, if you can prove to them or convince them that, if I can close the month in 3 days instead of 10, for instance, I don't know what your close cycle is, but if I can save, 5 to 7 days a month in closing, because I'm able to use a system to help me manage that close and control it, then that's 5 to 7 days that you have for strategic activities and working on things that will bring more value to the organization. That would be where I would start. And as we talk with you about this, we're more than happy to, in the discovery, as we're figuring out what solution is best for you, to help you uncover those and present cases to management and ownership.
Yes, absolutely. All right, final question here, and this is my personal question. And like a teacher in school, I'm going to make you both answer this one. So we've covered a lot of points, a lot of benefits, but if you had to narrow it down to the single greatest benefit that you see, what would it be?
I think the greatest benefit of all these solutions is really is not just flexibility, but getting and being able to get to your data. Besides, maybe IT and getting the data to the people who know it best. So, for instance, your operational managers, your department heads, if they're able to get in there and build their own reports or get to the data that they know best, then you're really getting a little more insight into your organization. I don't know if that was a long-winded one answer, but that's what I think.
No, that's good. Dennis?
I would say that the one benefit for this is that, once any of these systems is implemented, and you go through the change management process, so you get buy-in from everyone. I think that what it does is that it creates an environment and an opportunity for you to spend less time on data preparation and more time on data analysis and decision making.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, there's certainly something to be said for even just the mental side of, alleviating stress from not having to spend as much time on the grind and really that analysis and using the data for change, innovation is the fun meat of the process. So absolutely agree with that. Well, it looks like that's the last of the questions today. So, of course, this was a very rapid fire and quick overview of the three tools. So I did want to mention that if you would like to see a deeper dive of any of these three, we do have longer demos recorded and available on demand on our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/algorithmtv. But of course, we'd be happy to show you a personalized demo as well.